Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Friday. I hope you're ready to have some fun. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Friday to have some fun, to talk the news the past 24 hours. It's our good friend, Christy Olson. Christy, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hello, Nick. Thank you so much. And happy Friday to all of our friends out there who already have the chat roll going. Hey, guys, good to see you.
For sure, yeah. People, you start a few minutes late, that becomes a whole scandal, right? Meltzer picks it up. He's talking about it. Now 4 different websites talking. Why is the Wrestling Inc. Daily 2 minutes late? Comment sections flare up. All of a sudden, Tony Khan's got an opinion about it. It's the cycle. It's the cycle.
We know that Tony is listening after last week. What did we put something out there about what the conversation was becoming about the show, and he just deaded it. He was like, Nick, Christy, I hear you. Conversation over.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we set the tone for the business here, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great show to get to here today. Before we get to anything, a couple things up top. First of all, Jim Ross shared out this gruesome photo yesterday. You saw it, obviously, based on your face. Yes, Christy?
Yeah, gruesome. That's a perfect word for it, Nick.
Gross. He's got something on his skin, and he had to go get it checked out, and he thinks it could potentially be skin cancer. So Jim's a friend of the show, and he gets a lot of flack, but he's always been a good dude to me, and I really honestly hope he doesn't have skin cancer. That'd be awful. I don't want to think about Jim Ross having to deal with cancer right now, Christy. I don't need that in my life.
Well, no, absolutely not. It really seems like he is living his best life right now. He loves his work, and he has a great personal life, it looks like. So I really, along with him, hope that, he can just keep it moving and that this is just a tiny bump in the road.
Also, in good news, though, Marshall Von Erich, also friend of the show, one half of the Von Erichs, he birthed his son over the weekend or yesterday. So congratulations, Marshall. I hope that you and your son and your dad and your brother continue to live the fantastical, magical life of wrestling sheep herders in Hawaii. That's really what they do. That's their life. So
wow. Okay, so no wrestling aspirations for the new baby. We think he's just sheep farmer, and we're good with that?
He's a wrestling sheep farmer. They farm sheep in Hawaii, and then occasionally come to the States and wrestle.
Okay, well, I hope the best for their baby, who is probably wrapped in a sheep's wool blanket right at this moment.
Probably. Very true. All right. Well, like I said, big show here. And I'm not trying to make news here. I guess because I'm just a delinquent who never shaves. Lots of people, Dave here, Babyface Hausman. Oh, wait, why does my banners look wrong? I don't like this. I don't like the way these banners look. I got to change it. We're going to change it to
you got to go to the little, there you go.
There we go. Yeah, I like that one better. Chris Duggar. Nick is late because he shaved, right? Gary Lyle, a lot of people thinking Nick too long shaving. Samantha, Babyface Nick this morning. MCASP. How's been trying to look young again? Honestly,
it's working.
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm a youthful 36, but it's the winter is setting in here, and I should have probably shaved a week or so ago to let it grow back in for the winter. But if I go into the winter with a big beard, I walk out of the winter looking like someone you wouldn't give a $20 bill to. So,
yeah, right. No, Nick, you have such a gorgeous face. Why hide it?
Hey, same with you. I'm glad you shaved too, Christy, by the way. That beard was getting out of control.
Yeah, next time you can let me know, okay?
I will. I'm sorry. I didn't want to say anything. Live your life. Be your true self, YOLO. That's your way back into the business. You could be the bearded lady, Christy.
Oh, you know what? I somehow feel that people would get on board with that gimmick, even in 2021.
Yeah, bearded lady, right? That's Vince's thing. He's like, who doesn't love the bearded lady? You give the kid a nickel.
Yeah, and it works up to the stipulation of the shaving of the beard match. There's a lot you can do there creatively. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, hey, let's continue to put that out into the universe. So, yeah, we're going to put out into the universe here some news. After the news, double dose of Hausman here today. Last weekend, I was invited to do a Wizard World Chicago panel called The New Pro Wrestling Boom with the Blake and Sal show. I had a blast. It was I think 3:00. I had a beer and they let me take it on stage. I was the first person of the day to ask, can I bring my beer on stage to do this panel? And I just had a great time, and I really like Blake and Sal a lot. And they sent me the full They had a mixing board and everything. So they sent me the HD audio. They're like, whatever you want to do with it. So we're gonna air it here today. So very relaxed Hausman live crowd, back and forth conversation about professional wrestling later on, Christy.
Oh, well, that sounds very interesting, Nick.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope it makes a good show for everybody. And then at the end, in the mailbag, we're going to talk about what everybody's been talking about here for the past 24 hours. Crown Jewel. What was the match of the night? We'll talk about it, but let's get to it here. News you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. Some highlights of Crown Jewel yesterday. We'll start with the main event. Roman Reigns was able to retain over Brock Lesnar. Now, going into the match, it was going to be no Q. Then earlier in the day, for no reason whatsoever, they just said, not going to happen. Regular match now.
We can't think of a way to make that work. Never mind.
I would imagine you're probably pretty right. I think they got there, and they're like, we got this idea for the finish. Paul's going to throw the belt in the middle of them, right? And then it's like, who did Paul mean to throw it to? The ref will be down. Cheap shot, set up the rematch at WrestleMania, right? That is a great scenario, but flies in the face of the no DQ stipulation they were going for, you know?
Right.
I thought it was one of the best matches Roman and Brock Lesnar have ever had. It had stakes. I thought there were like a lot of really good matches on the show, like honestly. And you know, I was pleasantly surprised we did not get some big definitive ending. I had convinced myself because they were getting $55 million and in Saudi Arabia, they were going to want to do something big here. And instead they decided to do big things elsewhere on the show. And this was the screwiest of screwy endings for any match on the show. And nobody was unhappy. And now I can't wait for WrestleMania, right?
No, it's exactly what we needed. And I know you and I were both a little concerned about what would happen here. I guessed it would be either a whole lot of nothing or too much to the point where they blew something off that we could have had on a regular pay-per-view. Neither of those things happened. And you know what? I give the credit to Paul Heyman. I'm going to go ahead and say that the reason he pulled this off, he made us still be interested in this after the fact. And it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was like, again, I have no complaints about this. The Usos were used appropriately here. And again, like if the idea is to figure out a way to get to WrestleMania with Brock and Roman, this was a great setup for it. Brock Lesnar, WWE had a post Crown Jewel tweet where they said he was going to head to SmackDown. So we'll see what happens there. I wonder if that's where he does the WrestleMania call out and then just goes away for a while. Possible, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels a little early for that.
I just don't know where. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know what you do unless Brock Lesnar murders him. How do you make Brock Lesnar go away? Does Roman and the Usos, do they beat down? Do they do an injury angle on Brock? Right? Like, how do you keep him away from Roman?
That would be fresh and new.
I can't think of the last. Has that ever happened where somebody stretchered Brock? I don't know that that's happened.
No. And is there anyone else that would be believable or that we think he could come back? It's still Brock Lesnar. Anyone but Roman and the Usos? Man, I like that idea, Nick.
Yeah. Well, Brian Bills saying maybe the suspension, right? Like, hey, Brock comes out, pulls a gun, inspired by his good friend Goldberg.
Arn?
Arn. He's got a couple friends. Arn and Bill told me the way to stay relevant is to pull out your piece. So, maybe Brock does something so egregious that he's fined and suspended and forced away from Roman Reigns. I'm just as equally intrigued by you, though, Christy. Like, how do you fill so much time between now and then? That's what I wonder, too,
Yeah, but I was also wondering how the heck they're going to get out of this Crown Jewel thing and still keep us interested and not mess that up. And it came off perfectly. So you know what? I'm just going to have faith with this one, which I don't always do. So
hypothetically, I guess, in between now and then is the Rumble. Like, we've seen kind of the Brock Rumble stuff before where he just murders everybody. But, like, it's not uncommon for wrestlers to have won the Rumble multiple times. Steve Austin won it 3 times. Does Brock Lesnar win, like, entering himself in the Rumble tonight and saying, I'm going to take everything from you or whatever? I don't know. Is that a play? That's what I'm just thinking,
Well, yeah, and their pay-per-view schedule, I know, is getting a little screwy in the next couple of months and stuff. And we have to remember that we do have several pay-per-views that they have to put over and ratings for 2 weekly shows that they're concerned about as well in the, 4 or 5 months yet until Mania.
Right.
So that's a tall order, and I'm just looking forward to it.
So on the other side, the other title, Big E retained over Drew McIntyre. Super clean, good match, show of respect at the end. Big thumbs up from Drew. I would imagine Drew McIntyre's walking right into a program with Roman, maybe Roman and Brock starting tonight. You know, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah, and that was kind of my biggest question coming out of that match is where does Drew go next? Because at this point, he is so strong and he has proven himself in so many with the opportunities he's been given that I think you're right. He could go into a program with Roman Lesnar, whoever it may be. He's there still, even after this loss to Big E. So again, there, man, it feels like in this conversation, Nick, for the first time, I'm saying like, ooh, there's some intrigue here. We don't know necessarily where this is going, and it's got my attention.
And it was a real passing of the torch, right? Like Drew
Yeah.
carried the title as the top baby face, and now on his way out over to SmackDown, he's putting over the next top baby face, no animus, and leaves the door open for a lot more down the road between these two. So again, no issues here. I think the match that rightfully everybody is praising, and I would not be surprised at all, is winning our poll right now. Edge and Seth Rollins went out, and I think this is, I don't know if it's the great, I'd have to go watch them all back to back, but this has to be one of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time that these two put on at Crown Jewel. You agree, disagree? What do you think?
Well, overwhelmingly, I'm seeing other fans say that. And what stands out the most to me is that the conversation about Crown Jewel in general changed after this show. And I attribute that to this match. This
Agreed.
was the match that made us talk about the wrestling, the outcome, the superstars that are there, and what's actually happening in the show, not, oh, WWE is in Crown Jewel again or is in Saudi Arabia again.
Correct. I think that you are right. They set the tone immediately with this match where it was like, you know, it became something you could watch and not think about, right? Like in an ideal world, like I tweeted after the show, because the show was really good and I really did enjoy it. I just wish that everybody did like Mustafa Ali and gave their money to charity, right? Like I think there's a more righteous way to go about this, but that's really not the point when talking about the creative end of it here, which was very, very good. I mean, these guys told an amazing story. I mean, what chemistry? This is once in a generation type chemistry you're getting between these two guys. And I know that this like felt like the end, but if they gave it one more chapter, like I don't know where you go. I wouldn't fault them for it, Christy, just because I enjoy watching these two guys so much.
Hey, if the fans are still hungry for it, if it's still working, I'm sure WWE is acknowledging that as well. They're seeing all this feedback. I think you're right. We're going to get another one of these. And as far as the superstars donating what they made from this show, that's so interesting, Nick, because I was really applauding Mustafa as well and thinking, you know what? That is a great solution to this problematic thing that you are required to do for your work. Right? That's seems like a win-win to me. But just now I'm thinking like, no, they shouldn't have to do that. WWE should be donating their $55 million to the ACLU, to, women's groups in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, you know what? It shouldn't be on the superstars. They're going over there. They're putting the work in. They're putting their lives in danger. We know that from what happened a while ago. So, yeah, maybe a call for WWE to make some donations.
I have felt, I mean, like I felt for a while, like if, again, like, the dollars make sense. I'm not an NBA, right? But from somebody who tracks public narrative pretty closely, and considering that WWE is losing so many people viewership wise for whatever reason, for them to take the 55 million they got from one of these shows and be like, you know what, this isn't about the money for us. This is about trying to spread Western influence over in Saudi Arabia. These people deserve a quality of life they haven't been afforded before. We think it's wonderful they're willing to pay us this money, but we think that it would be better suited in the hands of charities. My hunch would be an act like that would probably benefit them, merchandise, ticket sales, TV viewership. It's I guess a bit of a gamble, but like I think that people need to see something empathetic, outwardly moral with no strings attached to kind of bring them back to the table to WWE in some ways,
Well, yeah, because they talk a good game about why they do it and the positive aspects of it, especially with the stuff with the women. But let's see put your money where your mouth is. Let's see you make a difference in the way that you're talking about that you do.
Yeah. So again, it likely won't happen. But even in all of this mess in the muck and the mire, like it's hard not to look past some things that I think are actually like good, right? You take the good with the bad.
Absolutely.
Like WWE referee Jessica Carr, she became the first female referee to call a match in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And it's great. I mean, like, look, we had 2 women's matches on the show. I still think it's a little odd that Finn Balor can run around in his underwear and Sasha Banks has to be all covered up, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah,
right.
and something we should be paying attention to and be reminded of.
Yeah. So that's a lot to me. But like, it wasn't just the fact that this was like a woman refereeing this match. Like the idea of empowering women to serve in positions of authority in Saudi Arabia, which is what Jessica was presented as, you know, keeping these 2 men in this hell in a cell structure, you know, trying to, you know, direct that traffic. But, you know, I thought that was, I saw that and I was like, that's a different message to me in some ways than what we get with the women's wrestling matches. And I thought it was really cool. I did think, and she did the, I think she did Finn Xavier Woods too. She had 2 bouts. So
Yeah, yeah, and big congratulations to her. And it's a huge deal that WWE knew that the eyes would be on her in that way and that they entrusted her with that, and not a surprise because she is absolutely fantastic. And I know that she values that position so much.
yeah, and Elizabeth Fox, you're saying so cool for Jessica. Yes, I agree. All right, well, we got our finals here for King and Queen. I guess King of the Ring, Queen's Crown. I just wish they'd call it Queen of the Ring, but whatever. So Xavier Wood is your king. Zelina is your queen. It was noted, by the way, on commentary that Eva Marie is not around right now, causing chaos for Dewdrop because she's off filming a movie. So that's an update on where she's at that came out today. I'm really happy for both of them. Zelina deserves it, obviously. And this, you know, I was reading quotes this morning. Xavier Woods did this interview with the New York Post, and he's talking about how he's always wanted to be king since he was like a little kid. And then in 2019, they did the King of the Ring tournament, and he got passed over for it and was like really upset about it. And so now to finally get it, he called out Tyler Breeze. It was just a really cool moment. I'm happy for the guy, you know?
Yeah, big congratulations to him. That is another thing about this show, too, about them going to Saudi Arabia. It just made everything feel very important, right? And a big deal. And I think it being over there, I'm sure, made it even more meaningful for Xavier. And this is just so well deserved. And I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with this new title and where it's going.
King of the nerds, 100%. This dude is going to be, one week he's going to be some Lord of the Rings king. The next week he's going to be like, you know, one of the British kings. He's just going to be a nerd king, king of the nerds. But he is, that's what he is. Not knocking it, but that is what I'm predicting. And then with Zelina Vega, I hope that she uses this as a chance to stretch her character. You know, she's kind of, hit that point where we know Zelina. I don't really know if she's a baby face or a heel. So I hope this gives her a chance to kind of pick a direction and grow, because she really needs something right now.
Yeah, my guess is that that's the point of all of this, for her to be given the opportunity to really show us who she is and who she's going to be as a wrestler, not just a mouthpiece, which she's so freaking good at too.
Well, some backstage news here from the show from PW Insider. People within WWE were thrilled with Crown Jewel. There was a feeling that within WWE, the Crown Jewel was one of the better major shows the company's produced over the last year, 100%. This seems to be in line with what everybody's saying on social media. And while past WWE events in Saudi Arabia received a lot of negative feedback, this one's gotten a fair amount of good feedback. Regarding WWE's return to Saudi Arabia, word going around Crown Jewel was the company's going to return to the country during the first quarter of 2022. Nothing's official. WWE's 10-year partnership with the Saudi General Sports Authority calls for 2 events to be held per year through 2028, but there was only one event in 2020 and one event in 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So maybe it'll get pushed back a year with 2 more events or anything. But yeah, knock on wood, that we could see some kind of evolution here for the better as this thing kind of continues to play out. Obviously, still a lot of questions around it, but this was a good show, Christy. Yeah, 100%. They should feel good about what I think they put out, regardless of where it was at, So.
Yeah, and the superstars should feel good about their work that they put in.
Yes, for sure. And, we already went down the rabbit hole of what you could do charity-wise. Just think about it, right? Just think about it. That's all Just think about it. All right. So, other Vince McMahon news: The Observer saying Vince was at the Golden One Center in Sacramento this past Monday when the Friday night numbers came out between SmackDown and Rampage.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, it was noted that Vince didn't get mad in front of anyone, and that was key because there have reportedly been times in these situations where Vince can come across very immature when ratings come out in recent weeks. Not favorable to WWE, and it was said that Vince was anything but that in response to the SmackDown Rampage numbers. The original Fast national numbers came out on Saturday, with WWE drawing more viewers, so McMahon likely knew the key demos were close 2 days before Raw when no one else really knew, but people were speculating. And while Vince didn't know the final numbers until Monday, for the most part, he knew the story for 2 days. So he, I guess, had time to brace himself to not freak out and fling feces gorilla style at people when these numbers come out. I'm not sure.
I mean, I understand that there's been reports that he's been upset about these lately, but that's not very Vince McMahon-y, right? Like, that's not no selling and being confident in the fact that you have a bigger global company that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars or whatever, and that you're unthreatened by all of this. I just, I don't know. I can't really see him throwing these public temper tantrums, but apparently in this instance, he did hold himself off. You know, we are all having a lot of fun talking about these ratings every week, and both WWE and AEW were smart to lean into that for this last week. Look at all the attention it got them. Week to week, is it really making that much difference in anyone's business? No, but I'll keep having fun talking about it with all of you guys.
So while we're looking at past Friday night, the Observer also saying that Tony Khan, you know, he likely would have already opened with Punk and Seidel, regardless of the competition from WWE, because that's just how he likes to do the show. But Punk, I guess, in a moment with Khan, told him not to change anything in the show or booking as a response to what McMahon was doing, as both McMahon does this regularly now, and he and Bischoff always did this in the 90s against each other, changing their cards last second. He asked Tony to put him head-to-head first because, quote, I can take the bullet. And Punk wound up coming out on top in that key demo there when he was head-to-head with Vince. And, you know, I always like to think, because, like, you know, Vince, I've heard drinks really nice red wine, right? I've not really heard
naturally
much, right? He's a dandy, and so I just like to imagine Vince swirling his red wine, sitting by his fireplace, you know, on his big red chair. Yes, exactly. Vince McMahon, just very, very contemplative, swirling it, looking at the legs, sniffing it.
I was going to make a comment about the legs. I didn't know if you knew about the legs, Nick.
Christy, I know I've got my Psalm jokes. Don't worry about it. And so, you know, I like to imagine he's sitting there and he just is Punk, right, under his voice, you know, like, because, you know, the vibe I got was like Punk and Vince, like, sounds like they weren't the ones that really had the issue. It was like Punk and Hunter, you know, I always heard that really had the issue. So I wonder if it is like kind of a melancholy moron for Vince as he sits there and reflects on the moment with his old friend CM Punk besting him, the young cool friend.
Well, yeah, but it sounds here like CM Punk thought that, you know, Vince would essentially be shooting celebration bullets, and that CM Punk would be the one to have to kind of take the bullet, as in that they weren't going to do as well. So, I mean, that's interesting to me because really everybody's a winner here, and Vince knows that, and CM Punk knows that.
We'll see when those TV rights negotiations come up. And right now, it's easy to say we're all winning, right? When we find out how much NBC, Fox, and Warner are willing to pay for pro wrestling in about a year and a half, that'll be a tale of tape. So, anyway, lastly here, last AEW item before we get this Wizard panel, and we'll talk a little more Crown Jewel. Millennial caught up with Andrade, and in his interview, he confirmed he has signed a 3-year deal with AEW. He's about halfway through his first year, so he's got 2.5 years left over at AEW, and he seems very, very happy, and Charlotte seems very, very happy. So I'm happy for them, Christy.
Yeah, and I'm just excited. I mean, now we're starting to see a little bit more of him. And, you know, Andrade is one of the best in-ring talents, I think, of our generation. And we haven't necessarily gotten an opportunity to see all that he can do yet. So, man, I'm rooting for him. I'm ready for 2.5 more years of that AEW freedom before he goes back to the other place.
You think he'll go back?
I'm sure he will, yeah. Maybe even before that.
Okay. All right. Well, Christy, thank you for talking the news of the day up top with me. Thank you to Wizard World and Blake and Sal and Mark for having me a part of that. The new Pro Wrestling Boom panel. Hope you all enjoyed that. A little afternoon cocktail Nick talking pro wrestling. I really enjoyed that. That was really fun. So anyway, today's poll question at Wink Daily. That's where it comes from, over on Twitter at WINC Daily. Go give us a follow. The poll question today: what was the best match at Crown Jewel? Was it Reigns Lesnar, the Hell in a Cell, Women's Triple Threat, or something else? About 200 votes here. 65.3 was the Hell in a Cell match. Second place, Reigns Lesnar, 17.7. Women's Triple Threat did 12.2, and then 4.8 for everything else. I include the Women's Triple Threat because I felt bad because they were following so much, and people were so on the hook for Reigns Lesnar. I think they kind of got a bad spot fan reaction wise, but I thought they really delivered. There was a lot of really, really good wrestling in that match.
I did as well, and I voted for the women, mostly because with all the problematic things that we have here in a show like this, the women's match was the most meaningful to me. You know, that's warm fuzzies, right? Over there in Saudi Arabia with the women's match. But now that we've talked it out a little bit, I think that Hell in a Cell match possibly did more for the show than the women's match even did, you know, as far as kind of cementing this as something that is a positive thing for fans and for the people of Saudi Arabia. So I would change my answer, Nick.
Yeah, I wonder, it's not even, it's just, but like that match could have main evented any pay-per-view, right? Like with
The women's match?
No, well, the Hell in a Cell match. The women's
Right.
match, I think too. There were a lot of matches here that kind of is a loaded card, right? I think both of those for sure could have, but that Hell in a Cell match, that could have main evented like a Royal Rumble. Like a major pay-per-view. The emotion at the end there with Edge crying, and I don't even know what kind of pyro they were. It's had this like weird rocket that like shot up like devil horns over it, like insane imagery. I think a lot of people would have just been like, well, if this is all this show was, fine. It was that good. So yeah. We have let's see here. Samantha at Angel in Disguise saying the best part was Riddle riding the camel. Okay, wonderful. That was good. Samantha, Seth took some hard bumps. Yeah, that one off the cage through the table. I was just like, even if you're a really, really good pro wrestler like Seth, you're going to be walking funky the next day after one like that,
Yeah, I hope he has a spot on one of those private jets because he's going to probably need to lay down.
And then lastly here, just as a fun side thought, Gary Lyles, red wine versus White Claw is a Thanksgiving food fight. I just wouldn't drink those back to back.
Well, that's where I thought you were going with that, Nick, that we were going to surmise about maybe what we thought Tony Khan would drink. And I was going to say a White Claw.
Tony drinks White Claw. I get the vibe. White Claw, I think it's White Claw before 10. Post 10, maybe pulls out the brown liquor. Maybe a scotch. I'm good. Maybe it's a vodka.
Yeah, but I don't think he can have more than one. He's small.
Well, wow. Because I'm 6 foot, but like I can't even
You
touch
are?
I know I'm deceptively tall. I
mean, I've never seen you in real life, and I've never seen you standing up, even virtually. So I don't know why I should be so surprised by that.
That's true. I don't think we've ever actually hung out in person, at least. Because we started doing
only because we haven't had the chance.
The pandemic, like we started this during the pandemic. Yeah, no, I'm deceptively tall. I'm like 6 feet tall, and I can't drink hard liquor anymore. I've pretty much given it up. Like I'll do a margarita occasionally. I drank some Bloody Marys this weekend, and Sunday was rough. Like I was like, damn it. That's
why you're supposed to just start having more Bloody Marys the next morning. That's how that works.
That's why I drink all beer now, because I can handle it better. And I know we're short on time, but like I just recently went to a craft beer festival, so I'll put over Garage Band Brewing. I got all their stickers. Pollyanna Brewing, it's another good brewery. We have
these are local from when you hosted the party at the bar.
No, this is from a Lincoln Park Zoo craft beer night. We have Miskatonic Brewery Company. That's a good one. If you ever get the chance, and this sticker is gigantic, it's the size of my face. War Pigs Brewing. It is a Three Floyds collab brewery. They make really, really good beer. And then here's a bunch of stickers for my Three Floyds breweries. This is the best logo in the history. Put it up right.
Wow,
The
Nick,
best-
you're going to have the coolest notebook in homeroom.
No kidding. This is the space station middle finger from Three Floyd Brewery. Look, it's the space station. It's giving you the middle finger. Do you see that? You see-
I do, Nick. I do. I hope that's on their bottle, and I hope that you just sit and look at the bottle and giggle just like that as you drink your beer.
I do. It's Friday. I'll be twittering like that here pretty quickly. Okay, so we're done here. Christy, anything you want to put over before we wrap up the show today?
Oh, yeah, everybody. You can tune in and ask questions of Renee Young tonight. All of our ad-free shows members are welcome to do a little ad-free session with Renee Paquette. Come in and join and ask your questions. That's going down at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And you can become a top guy by visiting adfreeshows.com. And please also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Christy Reports, and hit me up absolutely anytime. Let me know what you guys are up to this weekend at Christy Reports.
All right, and I'm at Nick_Hausman. Come back on Monday. Right, I got to announce. So we're doing a time skip. So this is the last show we're doing.
Yeah.
I haven't announced it. Into the show, big announcement. We are moving from noon Eastern to 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday. All of the co-hosts are returning. We're all staying together. We're just going to be doing it late afternoon. My new position with Wrestling Inc. requires me to be very focused on news throughout the morning and the afternoon, and it really doesn't make, like, even right now, I'm being a delinquent towards what my new responsibilities are. So this is the last one at noon Eastern. So I'm hoping that not only does this make it easier for people to find, but I will have been so ingrained in the news of the day by that point that I can promise you the conversations are going to be possibly even better than we've already been having to this point. So that's the big tease. Also, big mystery interview for Monday. We have a couple, so I don't really know which we're going to go with, but Monday, just like normal, we'll still include the interview on the audio. We're going to release it at the same time. We're going to keep the 1 p.m. Eastern video release of interviews the same so we can get them out during the day, but we'll have that on the show too. And if you like this show, support WrestlingInc.com, where all the socials. The Wrestling Podcast is just like this, only at night or sometimes during the day, like Crown Jewel. But after the big shows, go find that, subscribe, support it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow. I'll talk to you on Monday. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.